Hello, everybody. Oh my God, it's been a long week. First word I couldn't even get out straight. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. Happy Saturday. A lot to talk about this week. Despite the fact that Bitcoin hasn't really gone anywhere from a week ago, there is still a lot of news that you missed that you need to know. So thank you as well. And thank you, Crypto Katana, Nick M, Bert, Frank, and everybody else. Let's jump in as usual. Let's go fast. Got a lot of ground to cover. And what happened so far? Well, the crypto market cap. We will talk about crypto market cap and why that is so critical, and my price predictions for that total market cap as well some good insight. And what else? Bitcoin 61K. Fear and greed fell back down to 53. It was at 68 the other day. Linda, thank you for coming too. Appreciate you all spending part of your Saturday with me. And now this is financial advice. And thank you to everybody on Patreon too. So first of all, this week in crypto, divided by Bitcoin, i.e. not denominated in US dollars. Render, dark green, up 38%. We'll talk a bit about that too later. Ethereum down 3%. Of course, Bitcoin's flat against Bitcoin. Binance up 4%. So really a bit of a nothing burger week. In terms of dollar terms, Bitcoin down 3%. Sol down 0.5%. ETH down nearly 6%. Binance still up. And again, the big dark green square is Render. TON is also up 3.4%. Some good news out there on that as well. Now, we'll get the Bitcoin news out of the way first, and then we'll jump into the alt, the macro, some stocks, and a few other things. First of all, a good piece of news is HS1. Thank you. We got Europe watching as well. Looking ahead, there appears to be potential for the market to target back to that all-time high 73K. And I know that's hard to believe. We're at 61 now. We're 12,000 away. But Bitcoin does move fast because we did form a hammer candlestick last week that I reported on. And that is a bullish technical signal. So we'll find out if they actually work. Now, additionally, there was a recent influx of capital into the Bitcoin market from the ETFs. Not a lot, but some, especially in some areas. I'll also cover all the banks that have actually invested in Bitcoin. Kamikaze, how are you? You got people from all over the world at the same time here. It's amazing. But there's been a shift, again, from the bearish quadrant there in week 18 to week 19. Flip into neutral, so I see that as a win. So we are, per this metric, at the bottom. And what's also interesting, despite we are at a bottom and we're 12,000 from the all-time high. Hello, Team New Zealand. Hey, Rob. Bitcoin percentage is now 88% in profit. So 88% of people that hold Bitcoin are making money. 12% are not. They're all the short-term holders, which I will talk about now. Short-term holders. This is from the team at CryptoQuant. Super interesting angle here. In this cycle, if you cast your eyes on the purple to the right, and within those is green spikes, these are times when the short-term holders had major profit-taking events. $28,000, $44,000, and $72,000. But there was only one time that there was a deep correction. So we'll see where this goes. But the point is, they had opportunity to take it. They did take it at 73, not the all-time high. Maybe a message there somewhere. But I do believe we'll get back to the all-time high and above sometime this summer. Most probably. Now, the ETFs themselves had a bit of a flattish week. We had a very good Monday, and the Friday before that was very good. And then since then, it's just been down. Now, although we had a minus $84 million yesterday, that is all because of this puppy here. Grayscale dump is back below trend, $103 million out. And that was the first below trend day we've seen in about 8 or 9 days. So that was pretty shocking. But I guess the bleed will probably never stop. It's been pretty consistent so far. At least the purple line's going up. It is bleeding out. There's not that many liters of blood left in that system. In fact, the average human body, I think, is 8 liters of blood. By my calculations, they've already lost 4.5 liters. There's only 3.5 liters of blood left to give. And some of that may never move, so... Anyway, that's the silver lining of that story that I see. Sorry for being so graphic. It's my mind. It's tired. Now, Blackrock. They do hold nearly 275 100,000 Bitcoin, which is a big bag. And if you see here on this trend line, they stack, but they stack ever so gently. But what's crazy is who owns all of this bag. We'll get to that in a minute, which is kind of exciting because that's going to awaken the world as to, they're investing in Bitcoin? I should too. Now, Hong Kong also is investing in Bitcoin. They're growing very slowly and they hold about 4,200 Bitcoin. Again, not bleeding out, growing slowly across these 3 ETFs. And as I covered last week as well. Thank you, Sean, for being here. As I covered last week as well, they will be opening one of these ETFs up to mainland China in the very near future. And that should bring a lot of money. I do believe the high net worth individuals in mainland China already have access to these rails if they want them. But we'll watch that carefully. Also, this was an interesting tweet from Raoul Pal, friend of the show. I'll be on his show at the end of the month. And we'll be doing the Journeyman together. But this is Raoul. He was at a presentation, and this kind of blew me away. He believes the crypto market cap could reach 10 to 15 trillion by the end of this cycle, and ultimately going to $100 trillion, making it the largest and fastest wealth accumulation in history. And I do believe in the $100 trillion story, because everything in the future is going towards both AI and blockchain. The question is, let's use a model to see exactly how high I believe we could get this cycle, because some of my price prediction models are based upon the crypto market cap. Thank you, Anjo. In fact, I covered one yesterday in the Solana video, and that was assuming, there's 2 things I had assumed last year for the Solana price target. One was Solana making up 3% of the crypto market cap. It's already above that, so that's checkbox. The other one is for the total crypto market cap to hit at least $5 trillion. It's about 2.2 right now. Let's dig into that and exactly how high we can get this cycle. Where did I get my 5 trillion? Well, currently we're at 2.2, 2.25, 2.21 to be exact. This is the Lila model, which actually also works for things like crypto market caps projecting forward. And if you look at the layers, layer 7 is 3.8 trillion, layer 8, 4.8 trillion, layer 9, 5.9 trillion, and layer 10, 6.5. I think once we get to around 5, we should start thinking about rotating. And but getting to 10 to 15, I don't see happening, but I will discuss that with Raoul when the time comes. Now, a lot of people are also saying as well, oh my God, NASDAQ is crushing Bitcoin. No, it's not. Let's look at some corresponding charts. This is the correlation between the QQQ over the last 90 days versus Bitcoin. Bitcoin's still up 33.43% over the last 90 days. It doesn't feel like it, I know, but it is. And NASDAQ is down 1.49%. Also, what's interesting is the S&P 500 is 0.8% away from making a new all-time high, whereas Bitcoin is 20% away from making a new all-time high. So it's like they have gone in different directions, which we kind of like too. But for the trad market to be nearly at an all-time high and Bitcoin not, means maybe Bitcoin got too heated too fast with all the ETF stuff happening. And maybe profit taking, which is normal in a cycle, was warranted. Now, let's talk about all the banks that are stacking, because this is a super interesting story. And this could really help that crypto market cap target for Raoul Pal of 10 to 15 trillion dollars. And if that does happen, we all do very well. So first of all, Boston-based Bracebridge Capital owns over $307 million worth of ARX Bitcoin ETF. Well done to Kathy and her team, and well done to Bracebridge Capital for investing. There's other news too. JP Morgan, who got in front of the US government and testified that if they could, they would shut Bitcoin down as recently as December 2023. Now, all of a sudden, they stack Bitcoin alongside Wells Fargo. So the number 1 bank and the number 3 bank in the United States now had to disclose via the 13F disclosures that they own the spot ETFs for Bitcoin. Good for them. Well done. You know, at first they fight it and then they lose or they succumb to the power of Bitcoin. Now, somebody asked me as well, and I've been keeping a running list of all these 13F banks and asset managers that have been buying Bitcoin. Oh my God, I got 400 already. It's a huge Google sheet, and I just jot them in. They're not in alphabetical order. I will turn it into alphabetical order, but you can see here it's too many to even talk about, including big names like the second biggest bank in Europe and many, many others. The point is, when the rest of the world sees this list and they see, uh-oh, my number one nemesis, my competitor, my partner, etc., they've been stacking Bitcoin, what am I going to do? I'm going to get some too, just in case these fellows and ladies and everything else are right. So watch this list carefully. I shared it earlier on Patreon. It's bonkers. And it's not even done yet. There's more. I don't have everything on there. And there's over 400 names. Now, speaking of this, Thomas from Hey Apollo says Bitcoin is going to be on the balance sheet on every bank in America. Who is selling right now must be a fool, or they've no idea what they own. This thing could 5x by Christmas. Now, 5x by Christmas would be $305,000 exactly. I don't see that happening, but this list is pretty bonkers. And it's only just beginning, so I promise to flesh this out, go through all the 13F filings, plug them in here, and I'll keep it updated too. I'd love to actually, because there's so many, it's very difficult to identify how many shares they have of each ETF. If I can find a way to do that effectively and efficiently, I will do it, or at least do it for the top names to show you exactly how much they hold. But when you look at this Bracebridge Capital, over $300 million, okay, that's pretty big. Anywho, that's the Bitcoin news. But there's a little bit of Bitcoin and politics news too. And I've always spoken about this. I said you cannot be in politics and be against crypto right now because a lot of people depend on it. And I estimate 44 million people in the US have it. Ryan from Bankless believes there's 50 million people. So somewhere between 44 and 50 million people have crypto. And therefore they believe in it. Therefore they don't want the government to stop them from having it. But this is news that Bitcoin Magazine CEO David Bailey says their team is advising Trump on his Bitcoin policy agenda. Shout out to David Bailey. And now that, so in the US, there's the left and there's the right. The left is very opposed to crypto. The right is now putting their toe in the water. They were opposed to crypto, but now because they don't like the left, your enemy's worst enemy is your friend. You get the idea. It's a good strategic play. Anyway, not being political, just pointing out the news. Now let's talk about layer 1, layer 2 action for the week from this big eye chart. I'll highlight the winners for the week. In terms of total value locked, phantom win. In terms of stablecoin volume, all are flat or down. Very quiet week. In terms of weekly commits by developers, Cosmos is up 100%. Weekly active developers, Cosmos is also up. Up for daily active users, Aptos is up 29%, and daily transactions, Avalanche is up 29%. So overall, it's an interesting week. Remember, at the same time, you know, there's one chain that does all the transactions, but if you come from a low base, you can grow really fast. You know, if you have one developer and you turn into two, that's 100% gain, and that's how it shows up here on this particular chart. Now, another view of the crypto winners and losers for the week. Number one winner for the week is Near Protocol, up 5.3%. Number two, Solana, up 1.8%. And number three, Phantom, up 0.8%. Loser for the week, Optimism and Aptos, number two, or Arb, Matic. Actually, you'll see the trend here. The layer 2s have sucked. There's a reason I don't own any and have not owned any in years. I don't believe in them. Anyway, no offense to your L2 position if you have one. Now, AltSeason. Is it coming off the floor? This is from Swissblock here, and you can see the blue line at the bottom is AltSeason or Bitcoin season. Right now we have Bitcoin season in play, but AltSeason has come up off the floor, and we need to get a little bit higher above that middle line to prove it is back in play. In the meantime, it is still Bitcoin moment's time to shine, but it could be worth taking a flutter on some of the most beaten down alts that are out there right now. Now, speaking of one of them, Render. It did blow up on the Apple News, up 38% for the week. And this is big. This is kind of an interesting crossover between traditional tech like Apple and Render, which is an AI play on the blockchain, and PSI own Render. But Octane is developed by Otoy, which is behind the Render network, and is the first unbiased, spectrally correct GPU production renderer for the Mac OS system. And this render compute will empower artists in various fields, and I think it's huge for the space, and we're going to see a lot more of this. Obsidian, thank you for coming. You cannot keep blockchain out of the future world because it's a more effective, more efficient way to do stuff. And speaking of blockchain and everything else, a lot of people are waiting for that ETH ETF to come. But people say it may not happen this year. But all of a sudden, there was a lot of action last week, including ARK Invest. They dropped the staking from their spot ETF proposal because they know that the SEC does not like the idea of staking. When staking is one of the core value propositions of Ethereum. But anyway, what's the point? Imagine having ETH ETF and no staking. Who the hell will put money in it? The answer is nobody. Anywho, back to AI, because it is so important in this era in which we live. That's why we talk about it a lot here. Arkan from Real Alethea says the Solana's Jump Fire Dancer will allow millions of on-chain AI transactions without high gas fees, making it a significant advantage for AI development. See the thought process? Render already partnering with Apple. Render use Nosana for compute, and Fire Dancer will open up the floodgates. It's going to be crazy. And during these quiet times when the market sucks, that's when you pack your bags, ladies and gentlemen. Not financial advice. Speaking of Solana as well, this is from Mert, friend of the channel. And here, only 4 out of the top 20 highest stake validators have upgraded to the latest patch for the network. They are Coinbase, Galaxy, Ledger by Figment, and Figment. All right. This is exactly why we say stop staking with non-Solana native teams. Not only do you get hammered with commissions, etc., and they pay you a very low amount, but also they do not care about the network. So vote with your money. Vote with the native teams. And shout out to Mert as well. He has his own validator. He takes 0 commissions. You get nearly 8% staking return. Now, you just go to Phantom, punch in the word Helios, verify the address on his Twitter, and make sure you're good to go. And I do stake as well a little bit with Helios. Now, let's talk about another concept. And as you know, I like simplicity. I believe in Occam's razor. The simplest solution always wins. Very simple for my simple little brain. And a monolithic chain is a single blockchain that handles all the transactions and data storage directly on space layer. But there's arguments now for all these other layers, layer 0s and layer 1s and layer 2s and layer 3s and layer 4s and 5s and 6s. I think it's all nonsense. So this thing came out in 2023. It's called a layer 0. It is called layer 0. And everybody said it was the future. Well, it's not. Maybe they might try airdrop themselves back into existence. I'm not sure. But you can see here how the daily active users, the usage and transactions on this chain have gone pretty much to 0 after quite an active 2023. And the only reason it still has some is because Stargate, which is a DeFi application built on top of it, is still running, and that has most of the transactions. So anyway, the point is, be careful out there with all this fancy stuff. And if anybody tries to sell you a layer 3 or layer 4 or layer 0, think twice. Anywho, back to some Tesla news. A couple of things just came out. Elon did tweet earlier today. He talked about how they're doubling down on robotaxis or the CyberCab. And basically, if you go back in history, Tesla cars are like Netflix DVDs that used to ship in the mail. And the Tesla robotaxi is like Netflix streaming. What is the better solution? What is the most profitable solution? What is the solution that's most in need? When you have places across Europe that are trying to ban cars on the weekends in cities, you're going to need electric, clean, autonomous vehicles. That is the robotaxi. They are close. They know something that we don't. They see data in 12.6 of FSD, and they know it's going to be completely autonomous. They have all the compute in the world. They've got all the data in the world. They got billions of miles. They got billions of edge cases. And it's so funny. There are still people, it's hilarious, that actually don't have FSD that don't believe in FSD. But anybody who has FSD understands what it does. It is scary good. Scary good. Everywhere I go, there's no interventions. And now it's almost become uncomfortable to drive a car that doesn't have it. It becomes a weird experience. How do I explain that? It's like, I don't know, driving on ice or something. You just feel nervous. Your adrenaline's running. Anyway, not only do we have cyber taxi coming, but also Optimus, which is already working in Tesla factories, doing productive work, which wasn't supposed to happen until the end of the year, but it's already happening, which is massive news. Now, speaking of dollars, because that's what we care about at the end of the day here, CyberCab, Elon said it's a $10 trillion opportunity. One moment in the history of the planet will this happen, and people will talk about it for 100 years. I'm going to read this again. This is from Lord Pretty Flacco. He tweeted this today, and this comes from the book. And CyberCab, this will be a historically mega revolutionary product, Elon Musk said. It will transform everything. This is the product that takes Tesla to a $10 trillion company. People will be talking about this moment in 100 years. Now, Elon Musk is never wrong. His timing can be off, but he's never wrong. This is coming, right? You have a company worth 600 billion, and he says it's going to be a $10 trillion company. Who do you believe? The analysts on Wall Street or Elon Musk? Anywho, I think that's a pretty beautiful quote. And they're also doing something else. This is an experiment up until the end of this month, another 20 days to go or so. You can now finance a Model Y at 0.99% APR. Every other car loan I checked on the internet, car loans range between 8.5% and 13%, sometimes a lot higher. And they're giving financing away for free for up to 6 years. And if you need a car and you want it paid for, your financing pretty much paid for by Tesla, and it's also the best car in the world. And it'll be a robotaxi real soon. We're going to break that down in tomorrow's Q&A video too. It might be worth having a conversation with whoever holds the purse strings in the house. And in other news too, more scary news here, ladies and gentlemen. Australian CBDC first steps? Big question mark here. Now, the WEF controlled nation of Australia. And we have a lot of Australian people in the community and in the audience, and I love you all. I love Australia. I love Australian people. I remember in the 1990s, everybody wanted to move there from Europe. Everybody. But now, Australia, at least some banks, are forcing the public to switch to the first steps of a central bank digital currency, and has warned citizens that they may risk losing all of their money if they refuse. And one of Australia's biggest banks, Macquarie Bank, hope I got that right, Macquarie, Macquarie, I think it is, told customers last week that it will completely eliminate cash this year. And if customers refuse to use central bank digital currencies, they will owe nothing and be happy. You've heard that before. They didn't say that exactly, but in case you missed it, they're phasing out the cash to prepare for the change. A safe, quick, and more convenient way to bank. Again, we all know what happens next. This is going to happen all over the world. Hey, Mike, good to see you, buddy. Thank you for coming. Thank you for everything as well. This is terrifying. We're seeing crazy things happening in Commonwealth countries like Canada and Australia, and they have the nicest people in the whole world. Why are the governments doing this thing? No, it gets worse. Australia also. What the heck is happening? Update from the Australia's Prime Minister. You're going to need a social license to post memes. Parliament needs to understand how social media companies dial up and down the content that supports healthy democracies, as well as the antisocial content that undermines public safety. Okay. Yeah. This is the beginning, all right, between central bank digital currencies and controlling what you say and do, freedom of speech. The hammer is coming down, ladies and gentlemen. You can't say you haven't been warned. And this could all be fake news, but probably not. Anywho, what else? Other big shocker for the week. The biggest macro data point this week was the preliminary University of Michigan survey data for May 2024, which significantly underperformed estimates. This is the biggest standard deviation dip ever in the history of this expectation. And consumer sentiment, the estimate was 76.2, the result was 67.4. It just completely tanked. And there were substantial declines in readings for both conditions and expectations about the future, highlighting some malaise within the economy. So, simple code. This is a survey of how people feel in an economy. All of a sudden, month to month, they got a severe kick in the teeth. And they're very nervous. And the US is going into an election year. This does not bode well for the incumbent government. Therefore, something has to change. Okay, we got interest rate cuts that have to come. Elon Musk just gave an interest rate cut down to pretty much zero for everybody all of a sudden. Consumers are feeling the pain, they're feeling the pinch. Jobs are being lost. The government says everything is fine, with the flames around the puppy in the room, in the kitchen, whatever that meme is. Speaking of memes, I don't even know if I'll be allowed to say memes anymore. This is a shocker. This should get the attention of the governments in control right now. And another quick warning. Sorry, sometimes you gotta share the good news with the bad news. But buy now, pay later is always a danger. This has been a new trend where you can buy anything pretty much and say, you know what? You want to buy this $100 item that you can't afford or you don't need? You can pay in 4 simple installments over the next 12 months. This has become a huge business. It's like a new version of a credit card. And people are buying stuff that they do not need. And I can't remember, there's some theory that if you're not sure you need something, don't buy it on a whim. Sit and think about it for a week before you pull the trigger. Because 90% chance at the end of that week you'll find out you probably don't need it. Now, if you got to commute 60 miles to work every day and you're tired of paying for gas, yeah, this may make sense. But if you need that extra 7th sweater or $300 pair of running shoes or something, no, think about it. I run all my shoes almost to death myself. So this is very scary here. Impacts of the buy now, pay later. Users of this service report various ways in which the products hurt their finances. They spend more than they can afford. 54%. They are worse off financially. 34%. They find it difficult sticking to a monthly budget. 32%, etc., etc. This is a real problem, everybody. Do not fall for this. If you have to make a purchase, think about it for a week. If you have to make a big purchase, think about it for a month. If you have to think about that latte or a sandwich, think about it for an hour or so if you can manage that. So thank you all for coming. Hope you enjoy the show. Hit the like on the way out. Sola YOLO 2030, thank you as well for being here. Appreciate each and every one of you. I'm going to go back and work on the weekly Q&A, which is tomorrow, same time, 12 noon. Actually, a bit later today because there was a lot to pull together and those 40 nuggets. So I hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks all for being here. And thank you as well to the mods in the chat, Sean and T&D Tesla, if you're there. Making waves, long time no see. And also, personal apology for those in Australia. I didn't mean to pick on it, but there's some weird stuff going on down in your neck of the woods. So talk to your politician and have them reverse those directions if they are really planning on doing that stuff. Thanks all. Have a good night.